Welcome back. Welcome back to the Politics Barn. I'm your host, Eric the Big E Arnold. Back here by popular request to talk about politics and maybe the occasional sports reference. If you're new, I made a couple political. Normally, I make sports videos, handicapping, making bet or picks against the spread in football, baseball, college basketball. I've made a couple politics videos in the past few weeks, and like I said, I guess by popular request, here we are. We're back. We're in the politics barn for another video. I think what we're going to do, at least for just because it's so easy, and there's so much to do in so little time. We're just going to leave up the lieutenant here when it's the politics barn, Lieutenant Bobulinski, and then we'll take him down and it's sports barn when he's not there. So when he's there, politics barn. So this is going to be the politics barn. So what do we got here for you this evening? It's a Monday evening. I get a feeling that a lot of you people are nervous about the upcoming election, i.e., Trump's going to lose, and now what? And I don't blame you. I mean, I think it's perfectly natural to be a little bit concerned about the unknown. And Joe Biden is certainly not your average Democrat because he's ancient and he's being pushed by some really hardcore leftists behind him. So, yeah, I think we all should be a little nervous about that. But I wanted to talk about the polls because that's why we're nervous, right? It's not any other reason other than we're being told incessantly that Trump is losing. Trump is going to lose. Why is Trump going to lose? Well, look, we asked all these people whether they like Trump or not, and nobody likes him. So he's going to lose, and we're going to win. Ha, ha, ha. That's why we're all nervous, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the history of inaccurate polling. That's our topic today. I don't know how we're going. I've got so much material here, so I don't know how long these videos. I thought what we do. I wanted to just go over briefly some of these comments that people were, nice enough to leave. Take their few seconds and leave me a comment. Ones that caught my eye here. Cole Wilson. I'm a libertarian. I didn't even know it. Possibly. Remember now, the definition we're using of a libertarian is Drew Carey's definition, which is a Republican that still likes to get high. Now, I don't know it's exactly a one-to-one deal there. In other words, if you're a Republican just throwing them back at the bar, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a libertarian. I mean, it couldn't, because if it's that easy, I mean, there'd be more of us when we call roll. So it's got to be more than that. But for our purposes, Republican that still likes to get high, I think that's what defines me, and at least Mr. Carey, and I don't know who else. Let's see what else we got here. Ernie Shaw, welcome to Red Pill Nation. Got to admire someone who could admit when they were wrong. No shame in that. He was referring to the fact that I admitted I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Hey, Ernie, I mean, I handicap sports and I'm married. I'll have all the chances in the world to admit I'm wrong. That's for sure. But I'll be here all week. Let's see. Glulu Man is asking me if I'm related to Bobulinski. He thinks I look like Bobulinski. Oh, he's probably not referring to that picture. He's probably referring to the more current contemporary version of the good lieutenant. Yeah, no, I'm not related to Mr. Bobulinski. He used to wrestle at 158 at Penn State. I doubt he wrestles at 158 anymore. I was 158 in college too for a while. I haven't seen 158 in 30 years. It'd take me a week to get down to 258. Probably the only thing we share is probably go to the same buffets. But, you know, weight loss is it's a journey, right? It's a journey, not a destination. Oh, let's see what else we got here. John, cool video, not bias. Thanks, John. I'm going to point out one thing. Of course I'm biased. Of course I'm biased. Everybody's biased. If you have an opinion of any kind, to me that means you're biased. In other words, if I'm an Eagles fan, a Philadelphia Eagles fan, that probably means I don't like the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think you can have both. You know, what I'm going to try to do here in the politics barn is I'm just going to advise you of my biases. Is that how you say the plural of bias? My biases, my biases. That's my issue with these damn reporters, the legacy media. They lie to you. Of course they're biased. Don't lie to us. Just like I can't think of the name of the actor, but in The Outlaw Josie Wales, where he says, "Don't piss down my back, Senator, and tell me it's raining." And that's what the bounty hunter, the guy who used to ride with Josie Wales in the Civil War, and then is tasked to go out and find him and bring him to, or kill him, essentially. And he tells the senator, "Don't piss down my back, Senator, and tell me it's raining." Well, that's what the legacy media does to us. So I'm going to tell you when I'm biased, and you know, I figure I'll be forgiven for that because everybody's biased. I just want you to know it when I'm biased, that's all. Now this one I found interesting, and this was from Jay. Now here's something I did, before I get to the comment, how did you get the handle Jay? Is this like one of the pioneers of the internet? I mean, it's not like J123874919Q. It's J, a handle I imagine thousands of people are trying to get, but he has it. So he must be one of the first people to be on the internet, or he's 100 years old, or both. But he must be wise because of that. And it says, "Now you know a secret. People are hungry for political analysis." And it references Tim Pool, who I haven't checked out yet. He has a channel where now he talks about politics. He has over 1 million subscribers. Ooh, you know, 1 million. Ooh. I don't know, man. I mean, my wife's a Democrat. If this thing blows up, ooh, I mean, I can already hear her grinding her teeth when I tell her, "Hey, I made a politics video that got 5,000 hits." I can hear her grinding her teeth. So I don't know. I don't know. All right, what's next? We're all out of sorts here. I think what I was going to do, here we are. I think everybody's hungry for some Bobulinski, so let's talk him for a little bit. You know, I thought about Bobulinski here, the good lieutenant, and as I said before, I think we're in a little bit of an end here with Bobulinski in that he's gone to the FBI. He's been told to shut up. So, plus I think he has legal liability himself. I don't know that he's going to be running around all the, the Rush Limbaugh and Tucker Carlson, giving us all these great evidentiary bits to show Joe Biden's dirty. I kind of think we might have what we have, and that's all we're getting. But let me recap what I've learned new since Hunter Biden's laptop and the lieutenant have surfaced. Prior to that, I know Joe Biden is doing quid pro quos. I knew that. I mean, you have to be a fool not to know that. His son, what's he doing on the boards of these corporations? Now, frankly, I was kind of under the impression that maybe he's just doing this just because, his son's there, his son's getting paid out of the goodness of his heart because he has a soft spot for old Hunter. He's tailoring United States foreign policy to help his son out Because which of us don't want to help our relatives out, you know? If we can do it, we probably do it. He's just a little higher up the food chain than the rest of us. What I did not know, and what I have learned, new things I have learned from Tony Bobulinski or Hunter's laptop. Hunter is paying Joe Biden. You know, that to me is significant. That's new. That's significant. Now, is that proven? No, but I think we're not in a court of law. The only thing that matters right now is a court of public opinion. And that's going to be, the verdict is going to be served pretty soon, maybe within a week or two. Verdict's going to be served in the election. So for me, yeah, you've made the sale. I'm convinced now Joe Biden himself was getting paid. That to me is new and significant. You know, why? Well, there's a text off of Hunter's laptop, and this was, I think, in the it was in the original New York Post report. It's floating around out there, but I think it was in the original New York Post. The text message came off the laptop purportedly. It's from Hunter to his daughter, Naomi, and Hunter's upset and he's whining and he's saying no one likes him and no one appreciates him. And he references paying Pop, i.e. Joe Biden, half his salary. So, you know, is he actually paying him half his salary, or is that just an exaggeration to underline, you know, how important and how much he's unhappy? Maybe it's an exaggeration, but it's certainly an indication that money is flowing to his father. I make money at my various jobs and whatnot. I tell you what I don't do is I don't kick any money back to Herb Arnold, my father. I'm sure he would appreciate that if I did, but they'd be, what's this for? Well, for all the influence you exerted, you know, sitting there in your easy chair, falling asleep watching Fox News. You did it, man. Oh, yeah? Oh, okay. You know, he probably wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. But I don't pay that money to him. Why is that money going back to Pop? You know, you got to think about that. And then the email, not from the, quote, unverified laptop, the email going from Giller, and this is coming from the good Lieutenant Bobulinski, that I've got here, where at the bottom it talks about 10% or 10 held by H for the big guy, question mark. And Bobulinski has basically said, you know, in so many words, I wish he would be a little more explicit, that I know for a fact that on August 17th of 2017, money went to Joe Biden. But he hasn't been that explicit. He's just referenced that Joe Biden is involved in these deals, i.e. Joe Biden must be getting something from these deals, i.e. he's getting paid. You know, again, these two things together kind of make me feel pretty comfortable that Joe Biden himself has been getting money from these overseas deals. And then the last thing here, I guess this is another Bobulinski nugget. Bobulinski apparently has shared a message he sent just recently in September of this year. This is referenced from the Daily Caller, Chuck Ross. And it's, I guess, a text message to Jim Biden. That would be the brother of Joe Biden. Quote, hope you and your family are well, safe, and healthy. You can imagine my shock when reading the report, that's the Senate committee, reading the report yesterday put out by the Senate committee. The fact that you and HB, Hunter Biden, were lying to Rob, that's Rob Walker, James Gilliar, Rob Walker, James Gilliar. So let me read that again. The fact that you and HB were lying to Rob, James, and I while accepting $5 million from CEFC is infuriating. And so disappointing based on the years of work that James, Rob, and team invested to get things done. Looks like they're looking under every rock relative to CEFC and Dong. I'm not sure who Dong is. I have gotten calls, just not responded. Now that's only one side of a conversation there. That's, Bobulinski letting the world know that, hey, this is what I said to James Biden when that Senate report came out in September. I was mad. Okay. I mean, were there any other communications? I wonder. Um, you know, Now this 5 million, again, this is something new for me, that apparently in August of 2017, the email here originally, May 13th, 2017, the Chinese were sending the money directly to Hunter Biden, an account set up for Hunter Biden around Bobulinski and the company that they were setting up, which, in a way, it's almost to me like I still haven't had an explanation of what this company was exactly supposed to do. But their money's going directly to the Bidens around the company. And what was that $5 million for again? That's a question we may never get an answer for. So that's all stuff new that I've learned. Significant, yes. Move the needle in the election, can't hurt. It can't hurt to know that, the more people know that, Joe Biden's not a holier than thou politician. He's a corrupt SOB. That's what the truth is as far as I'm concerned. At any rate, all right, so I don't know how much time we got left. We got some time. I want to talk about these polls that are all over the place, and most of them, if not all of them, show Trump trailing. This is nothing new. This has a long history of existing. I would argue this goes back to at least the 1948 election, where Harry S. Truman, quote by Harry S. Truman, who used to be called Give 'em Hell Harry. He was a Democrat. He said, I never gave anyone hell. I told the truth and they thought it was hell. That's what he said. He was also famous for saying the buck stops here. 33rd president, took over after FDR died in April of 1945. Harry Truman's the one that made the decision that they were going to drop the bomb on Japan. They weren't just going to say, hey, we got a bomb, or they were going to detonate the bomb over top of the mountain or something to show them the awesome power. He's the one that decided, you know what, screw these guys. They started it and we're going to finish it. And that's what he did. And he dropped 2 bombs because he figured that they wouldn't quit. These Japanese were fanatical. So he made the decision that he was going to show them the awesome power. And finally, they did unconditionally surrender. So anyway, 48 election, he's unpopular. At least that's what the story is. No one likes him. He's unpopular. I want to mention a writer, a contemporary writer, Victor Davis Hanson. I believe I got that right. I think he hangs out at the National Review. He's the one, I read an article by him originally that gave me this idea where he pointed out, Harry S. Truman and Donald Trump are very, very similar. Very similar. And the more I thought about it, he is absolutely right, which I think is funny for me because this guy, Carol S. Arnold, that's my uncle, he's dead. He taught history for over 30 years. Harry S. Truman was his favorite president. My uncle is a diehard Democrat, hated Trump. And I wish he had lived longer into the Trump administration just so I could discuss that. Your favorite president, Trump and him are a lot alike. I think that would have been fun to watch his head explode. But anyway, back to Truman. Truman's definitely going to lose the election. This is coming up to the election day in November. In 1948, he's facing a guy named Dewey, Thomas Dewey, had run for president in 44 and got beat by FDR in the Republican ticket, now running again in 48, overwhelming favorite to win. I got this information from the Philadelphia Inquirer in the paper the days of and around the 48 election. They had run a poll that was sponsored basically by the Chicago Tribune and assisted by a number of other nationwide papers, of which the Inquirer was one of them. They had Dewey at 49, roughly 49%, Truman at 43%. They polled a little different back then. Basically, they estimated how many votes they would win by, not so much percentages like we do today. But if you added up the votes in their totals, it worked out to 49-43. They had Dewey winning by 2.6 million votes. And then they said, well, if the turnout's even higher than that, you know, our estimate of the turnout, if it's a high turnout, he's going to win by even more. So they were very certain of themselves that Dewey would beat Truman. It was basically 78% of the newspapers had endorsed Dewey, including the Inquirer, including the Chicago Tribune. Let's see, what else do we know here? The British press, they were so certain that Dewey would win, they didn't even cover the American election that year. They didn't even cover it. Robert Taft, he was the leader of the Republican Party. He said Dewey would win by 4 million votes. Now, here are some similarities between Trump and Truman, other than the fact that the first 4 letters in their name are the same. Here's an anti-Truman cartoon that was in the Inquirer. It's a picture of Harry Truman smashing something in anger, and it says, "Class against class, bitter frustration, angry wisecracks." Sound like anyone we know? Here's a quote from Truman, because all Dewey did was just stand there and mouth platitudes. He didn't campaign on any kind of issues. He just basically stood there and said, "I'm not Harry Truman." Does that sound like anyone we know? Truman, quote, "Of all the fake," he actually used that word, "of all the fake campaigns, this is tops as far as a Republican candidate is concerned. He has been following me and making speeches about home, mother, unity, and efficiency." Which is pretty damn funny when you think about it, because, you know, who could not possibly be against home, mother, unity, and efficiency? Here's another funny quote. See if this sounds familiar. All right, this is dated October 27th, 1948. "The chief executive of the country has stated publicly that those who belong to the Republican Party, and particularly those of us who are candidates for national office in this campaign, are saboteurs of the West." He said this was not just I'm sorry. Let me start over. I screwed that up. The chief executive of the country has stated publicly that those of us who belong to the Republican Party, and particularly those of us who are candidates for national office in this campaign, are saboteurs of the West. This is not just careless language, it is a violent language. Now, who said that? Kamala Harris? No. Who said that was Governor of California, Earl Warren, who was the vice presidential candidate for the Republicans in 1948. So, you know, Truman liked to give it to him rough and dirty, just like Trump does. Truman was, I would argue, a man of the people, sort of like Trump is. And so he's going to get his ass kicked by Thomas Dewey. And of course, the Chicago Tribune, as we, if you know your history, printed an afternoon edition on Tuesday of the election, basically said, well, not basically, it did say, in big freaking letters, Dewey defeats Truman. Big letters, Dewey defeats Truman. And of course, now that's a collector's item, because in fact, Truman defeated Dewey, not the other way around. Truman defeated Dewey. Dewey did not defeat Truman. Here are the final numbers. Truman won about 49.6% of the popular vote. Dewey won 45.1%. From the poll that they were trumpeting on the Sunday before the election, it's a difference of 10.5 points. It doesn't add up to 100 because that year there were two other minor candidates in the race, Henry Wallace, a progressive, and then Strom Thurmond, what they called back then a Dixiecrat. So that took the other rest of the vote. But the difference between the poll and the actual results was 10.5. A huge difference, a huge difference. You know, why? Well, they clearly underestimated the number of Truman voters out there. Did they make a mistake, or were they just wrong in how they set the poll up? You know, I kind of think that it's one of those things where I don't know anyone who's voting for X because, you know, you don't know anyone other than people just like yourself. So I think the the Republican candidate, Dewey, he was the establishment's guy. 78% of the newspapers wanted this guy. So of course they're doing a poll for a guy that they all think's going to win and they all like. Who are they asking of who they're going to vote for? Of course they're asking people like themselves. They're not going out into the hinterlands, into the nooks and crannies of this country, looking to find people not like themselves. So you get a screwed up poll like that that's way off. Now let's go through another couple examples here quickly while we got time. Same thing happened in '52 when Eisenhower ran against Adlai Stevenson. You look in the Philadelphia Inquirer in the days surrounding the election, they're talking it's going to be a toss-up. They said, well, Stevenson's definitely got about 200 electoral votes. Eisenhower, he'll get about 200 electoral votes. And then there's these others here that are toss-ups that'll swing it either way. Stevenson got 89 electoral votes. It was a wipeout. Eisenhower wiped them out. How could the newspapers be that wrong? Well, again, I mean, they saw Stevenson as they see themselves. This is our guy. We identify with him. So they skew their polls to their favorite candidate. Now let's go ahead. Now you're bored. You're saying, well, what's this have to do with anything? Let's talk about one of our favorite people, Ronald Reagan in 1980. Now this I took again from the Philadelphia Inquirer right around 1980 November election. CBS, New York Times, Reagan 44, Carter 43. Gallup, 46-43 Reagan. ABC Harris, they had it 45-40 Reagan. And this is in the days right up to the election, coming right up to the election. The Washington Post, they've got Reagan losing to Carter, 39-42. They've got Carter beating Ronald Reagan 42-39, the Washington Post. And then Newsweek, they've got it the same way the New York Times does, Reagan 44, Carter 43. All the legacy media agreed the race was too close to call. There is a comment here let me find it. Here's a quote from the Associated Press prior to the election. Whatever the exact figures, the huge margins Reagan held over Carter in the polls conducted during the summer have long since faded in the heat of election campaigning. Associated Press. In other words, Reagan was way ahead during the summer, but now it's really close. It's really close. It could go either way. It could go either way. It could go either way. Well, here's the final score. Reagan 50.7, Carter 41, And then third party liberal Republican John Anderson, 6.6. So as you see, it wasn't close, if you remember. Reagan housed Carter, boat raced him, yet the media all wanted you to think it was close. All wanted you to think it was close because who on earth would be voting for Ronald Reagan? Those people don't vote. My God, ridiculous. Look at the Washington Post. I mean, that's embarrassing. How do you call yourself any kind of how do you have any credibility when you say somebody's going to win by 3 points and they end up losing by damn near 10? How do you have any credibility? Now the simple answer is they don't. They have no credibility. We know this. So I thought I'd just try to bring up some of these points to y'all as you're getting ready to jump off a bridge here, thinking as you see these polls coming out. I saw one here over the weekend. The Dallas Morning News had Trump losing by 3 points in Texas. Okay, if you say so. I predicted a couple weeks ago in a small unknown video when I endorsed Trump, where I said I think he's going to win. Now, do I still think he's going to win? I'm going to hold that one to myself just to tease it out there and maybe make a future video on Friday or something where I give my final prediction. Hey, what the hell? I still think he's going to win. I'm not good at teasing stuff, I guess, but he's. I'll give you my reasoning if you want in another video because this one's running long, but I think Trump is still the one to beat here. And I just wanted you to get a little more comfortable with these polls as far as Nate Silver at whatever his website, 538. He wants you to know that they're all accurate. No, they're not. No, they're not. I think they're as inaccurate as they are accurate. And we don't talk about the times when they're so wrong and ridiculously wrong. That just seems to get memory hold. But anyway, that's what I got for you here this evening. Hope you liked it. Again, trying to entertain and inform just a little bit. Hit the like button if you like the content, or join up if you really like the content. Like I said, I told somebody today, said, I don't know where this is going. I said, for now, I'm just going to keep going with it and see what happens. I don't have any expectations or goals. We're just going to keep going with it and see where it goes. Let's see. So thanks for being here. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate the support. From us to you, and us meaning me, we'll talk again. I'll try to make another one of these probably by Wednesday or Thursday. Thanks, and I'll talk to you again.